A very, very warm welcome to all the viewers. This is Mayuri Ramdasi, a global speech language therapist, founder Arula for Autism, and a proud autism mother. Welcome you all to this podcast. It's the first podcast in English that we are introducing today, powered by Arula for Autism, a global venture by Mayuri Ramdasi Hearing and Speech Solutions Private Limited, focusing, nurturing, empowering parents all over the globe to nurture their children, to develop their children who are neurodivergent, autism spectrum, ADHD, or related neurodevelopmental conditions. So, in today's podcast, we have a special guest. First, we need to understand why Mayuri Ramdasi has started this podcast. The podcast name itself suggests Arula, the ultimate binding energy. So, when I talk about ultimate binding energy, between what? It's the ultimate binding energy between a mother and her child. So, in this podcast or the series that we are going to present, we are focusing on a journey of a mother, a common mother, just like you and me. While nurturing her child, while developing her child, what all things that she has gone through, how she has managed or balanced both the ends, her career, her motherhood instinct, family responsibilities, and all. I always say that the battles or fight is not always on the border. A mother who leaves her home at 8 o'clock in the morning and returns back at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening, away from her child, away from her children, throughout the day, 8 to 10 hours, she is also fighting a battle within her. So, we are going to witness this journey with all our guests. And I'm really happy to say that today's first guest on this Arula's English podcast is a beloved friend of mine, Mrs. Pradnya Madbhavi, a childhood friend whose journey I have closely witnessed. And we are going ahead with her story today. So, Pradnya, welcome to this show, welcome to this podcast. Be relaxed and tell how are you feeling?
Yeah, this is the first time that I have been on a podcast, but I think no better place than to be here because you are the one who has witnessed the journey that I have been through, and I have witnessed the journey that you have come up with, Arula, and how you're helping children with autism. So it's my privilege to be here and sharing my journey with you all.
Yes. So, Pradnya, beginning, now people, our viewers definitely want to know about your background. So, instead of me talking about you or telling things about you, I think you are the better one person to give your introduction with respect to your childhood and yes, your journey in your career, your education, qualification, and everything.
So I've born and brought up in Mumbai. Uh, we used to stay in Antophil, and that's the place I and Mayuri shared as we grew up. I did my pharmacy education from Kundanani College of Pharmacy. That's about more than
In which year
25
you
years
have
ago.
completed
2003.
the degree you got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I did a postgraduate diploma in clinical research. And clinical research was something that I wanted to passionately be working in since the time I was introduced to this field. It's more about how drugs are developed and the clinical trials that are performed on new drugs. And since then, I have been in this field of clinical research for more than 20 years
That's
now.
great. That's great.
Yeah, so, and it is something that I'm very closely passionate about because it is science and you are part of the new drug development, and it's going to, at end of the day, bring answers to unknown questions.
Pradnya, definitely I'm going to peep into this little bit more as your career and
Yeah.
kind of your work that you are doing. But before that, I really want to know Pradnya as because that I know, but I want it to
Yeah.
people to know that Pradnya as a child.
So, being born in Mumbai, all my life I have been a Mumbaiker. I've done my schooling in SIWS school in Vadala. Very humble background. My parents and my brother, my grandparents uh, did not have big dreams, but definitely wanted to be independent. One, because I have always seen my mother being independent. I've always seen all ladies in my house being independent and working. So that was not a surprise or something new that I was doing. I was always wanting to be somebody working, but not but also having family. So it was something that as I grew up, I knew that I want to do education. I want to have, but also have a family and raise a family. And there were some ladies in my life that I have looked up to. And one of them is my Nani, who is
I
90
really
years old
want
now.
that story to be heard because I want to know about two ladies in your life. Because, see, as a girl, as a woman, when we are developing, we are uh, uh, developing, then that time there are certain, idols in front of us. I could say the mentors or ideals. So that there are in front of us. So for you, I think that was your nani all the time. And just tell something about her background that,
Yeah. So again, she has all been born and brought up in Mumbai. Did her graduation, but back in that time she was not working, and she started her investment business at age of 40 after my mom got married. So that's something that her father wanted her to start, and it's a lot of times when we talk this generation, like what's left, you have done everything, and that's the time she actually focused on building something completely new. She is an investment advisor, and since then, so last 50 plus years, she's been developing this business and running it successfully. Still now, without a use of computers or any data, you ask her about any client, and I'm sure she
how old is she?
knows about it. She's 90
She's
now.
still working?
Yeah. Not so much, but yeah, she would know if my uncle or my aunt is stuck with anything. So she would know what it is. So um, that is like the oldest lady in my house. I have seen her working and handling the household, children education. My grandfather did not have the best of the health, and I mean, with all that, I've seen her handle her business and on her own, being independent, and she was a major part of why the family is so well to do now. So that's something that has always inspired
That is,
me.
and another lady is your mom. So something
Yes.
about her.
Yes. Yes, I've definitely, like, she's been a banker, retired from Bank of Baroda after like 35 plus years of service. Again, coming from an humble background, but just lot of focus on the fact that I have to work because my job is going to help my family support financially my education for my children, uh, and with that also keep the family bonded. Like we had so many people over uh, for any time of the day. My dad had a extremely big social circle. It still has, and they all come over. But she's a family woman, but at the same time she was always independent. So I have not uh, seen my mom uh, not, she was there for me, but she's not just available, like she's just like I can ask her to do anything. Okay, she was of help every time that I needed, but I've seen her having her own life, and that's extremely important uh, as a child, to see your mom having a life and her life not just surrounding your life. Like it's not just cooking and cleaning, but also
Taking care of her
being part
hobbies
of
and
her hobbies, going out with her friends. Like the other day we had something about female friendships being discussed, and I remember my mom going out for a ladies night out, like a ladies trip alone with her friends, like I think 20 years ago, and that was nice, we thought it was cool, like my mom going on out with her friends.
we take uh, moms for granted,
Yes,
and that
Yes, we did not. Not that we wanted, but we never looked at her as that she's going to be there for every beck of a thing. So that is what we always looked her up to. The second thing my mom had always been an example is that you can aspire to be whatever, but all that will come with your own hard work. Okay, it's your responsibility to take up a career which you want, your responsibility to sail it through. No guards there, but at end of the day it's your responsibility. Like nothing is going to be handed on a platter to you. So I think that was extremely realistic thought that we were given growing up. So nothing is going to come easy, but nothing is as difficult also. Like if you try for it, aspire for it, yeah. So yeah, like 25 years ago, when I started working, I had a job which required traveling, and I used to travel like the entire week. Like I used to go on Monday and come back on Friday. I used to call her once a day when I reach the hotel, like how was the day, all fine. And this is incidents I would like to tell you that once I was traveling to Ludhiana, and I was in the train Janashatabdi from Delhi to Ludhiana, and was late at night, around 8:30, and I didn't know when this station was going to come. So there was a lady next to me, and she was talking, like they were talking in Punjabi, and I realized that okay, this is she's going to get down at Ludhiana. So I told her like, "आप लुधियाना उतरने वाले हो तो just help me." Just looking at me, "आप वहाँ उतरोगे?" मैं कि हाँ. Um, क्यों जा रहे हो, like because she knew I'm not from that area, and I was just like, because I work, it's a work for me and I go there. Like, where will you stay? I'm like, stay in the hotel. And she asked me a question that nobody had asked me. Like I was working then by like 2-3 years. Like, aren't you scared staying alone in the hotel? And I said no. And then I came back and asked my mom, is that a question? Like, should I even be scared? Like, no, you never asked me. You never even thought. I mean, so this is, I mean, there was no doubt whether or not you will be able to do it. Okay. If it's something that you have taken up and you are responsible, that you understand the world, then yeah, you can go ahead and do it. So that's something will only come to you as confidence if your parents show that level of
superb.
confidence in you.
So very nice. So moving ahead, a little bit I want the insight about Pradnya as a student. her aspirations as a student till she completed her graduation? How was it? Dreams and things like that.
I like studying, but I was not. I don't think I was the best student or extremely intelligent. No, I was. It's fine. Uh, I I was curious to learn more, not afraid to ask questions. I think that is something that has helped me through. And wanting to study. I don't think I had a clarity of what I want to be so much that, okay, I want to be so and so or anything like that. I wanted to work. As I grew, okay, I developed liking in science. I also developed liking in English. But back in that time, studying literature was not a career option, probably. So never thought that, okay, I can study English to be, do something in art. So I took up science as a subject. And then pharmacy was a course that I realized, okay, this is something that I might like, because I used to like chemistry and biology. So, and pharmacy was a course which had a lot of chemistry and biology. So that's how I actually landed up being going to pharmacy. I don't think I had met up until then anybody who had done pharmacy.
So you are in
So
your family. You are
again,
the first one who
yeah, yeah,
did pharmacy.
yeah. And as I said, I didn't even know anybody who has done pharmacy, so I didn't know how. I mean, what is there ahead? But I thought I liked to study that subject more than what would be a career, or how I'm going to earn money, or what kind of job I'm going to get. Like, had zero insight about it. But I think just the love of studying that whole process was something that actually guided me to being BPharm. And I think that was the best decision, because BPharm was something that I enjoyed the 4 years. It was a good course.
So, as you completed your graduation, then did you wait? Did you take a gap or something, or you started immediately the job? And I want to know the first job's experience. Ki exactly.
Yeah, so it's very funny. I finished my final year exam, and then I went on to my uncle's house to stay. Like, okay, this is like a real vacation. And I get a call from my college professor that there is like a walk-in interview of somebody that our principal knows. So he has a company. Just go. I didn't have any idea what that interview was all about. I just went, and there were like many students, like 20, 25 students, and they just selected me. Again, I don't know why. And then I landed up being on a clinical trial at Wadia Hospital. So I got a job as a clinic study coordinator at a clinical site center. And that was the first time I realized, oh, clinical trials are done in India. And I suddenly remembered this was exactly a question that I posed to my principal when we studied clinical research as pharmacy, that is this done in India? And he said, no, it's not done in India. And I was so surprised. So, and it was a multinational company for which that clinical trial was done. And I just landed upon that job as a clinical research coordinator. And I had a privilege of working with the pediatric cardiologist there, and that was an amazing
Way you started
experience.
your career like
Yes,
that, okay,
yes.
pursuing your journey with respect to career. So now the very important phase that comes in every girl's life is a transitional phase, that from mom's home moving it to husband's home, or that is called as marriage. I will say always, okay, so marriage is a very important phase that at a point every girl thinks about it, every family thinks about it. And then with that respect, I want to know, Pradnya, what were your views about getting married at that time, and what age you started seeking for alliance and things.
Think when after I got a job and after I got
So that was a actual prerequisite कि I need to get a job first.
yeah. I mean, that time, up until I got a job and I kind of settled in that job, I don't think we were even thinking about marriage or anything like that. And then later on, we're like, okay, yeah, now this is settled, so let us look out for a, an alliance. Actually, uh, to honestly tell you, it was not so easy. One, because of I the job that I did required a lot of travel. Yeah. So and that was my job. I mean, there was nothing else I could have done. So that was a prerequisite that I would continue to do this job, and
Was it a
it should
arranged
be okay
marriage
for
and
everyone.
love arranged marriage? Okay.
And the second thing was I wanted somebody who also wanted to be married, honestly, because a lot of guys that I met felt like, okay, I don't, I mean, it was almost like he's not interested in getting married. So the guy who I got married to actually was interested in getting married, and the first thing he ever asked me was, "What do you really do?" And I'm like, okay, so this is a guy who really wants to listen to what I work. Because when I say, okay, I am a clinical research associate working in clinical research, and if somebody says, okay, I know that this person, one, has not understood anything, and two, he is not interested in knowing what I do. So that was very surprising that he actually was like, okay, you just tell me what you do, like why you travel and what is it that you do. So that was something that was like completely in today's world green flag for me. Yeah, that he's would be interested in
And
understanding what I
what was the age that you got married? 25.
25.
Okay. So, as I say, marriage and then starting a new life with a life partner. So, many challenges, many sweet dreams to follow, to achieve. So, exactly how was this transition for you? I mean, with respect to not only getting adjusted means I'm not only focusing on the adjustments that you did, but as an experience and that particular phase that you went through, ki getting now it's Pradnya Agashe before marriage. Now it is Mrs. Pradnya Madhvavi. तो वो जो डिस्टेंस था कैसा था लाइक हाउ वाज इट बेसिकली
Um, it was okay. I mean, I don't think I thought so much what to expect. I just went with the flow. I don't, maybe back in the day, there was no so much expectation of what it has to turn out to be, honestly speaking. There was not a big checklist of things that you have to do this or this has to be there, or it was you, if you find somebody you can live your life with, life will happen. Okay. And it happened. Okay. It was not too much pre-planned, premeditated. um we just went with the flow of um having a transition from being a daughter to being a daughter-in-law. A lot of the credit of it also goes to my in-laws, because they had two sons. So for them, it was like a daughter-in-law, a daughter actually, and hence they were extremely supportive. One, they were supportive about the kind of profession I am in, and in general, very supportive about they actually they didn't have too many qualms about we want this or that, or specific this is the framework of our house. I remember my mother-in-law telling me, you don't have to get up at 5:30. Your father-in-law gets up, he makes his tea, he'll make tea for you also. he gets up, you don't have to get
So
up. So
sweet. I mean,
I
the
mean, it's so
girls who are watching this podcast, they will be, Pradnya, we want, family like you, okay? Even if it has to happen, marriage and all, okay? Great.
yeah, because it's like that's his routine. I also don't get up, you also don't bother. So I'm like, okay, fine, great. So yeah, there's some things that were yes, quite eased out. But again, it's a different family. There are different thoughts. A person, especially the in-laws, who are brought up in different time and age with different background. Okay, a very stark different than how I'm being raised. So although we my marriage was in the same community, the kind of environment I am being brought in versus the environment, the thought process my in-laws had was there was a distance. But slowly over the years, me and my mother-in-law just learned how to coexist. Okay, I did not go on to change her belief. She did not impose her things on me. We kind of agreed to mutually, exist. So I think that's something that uh, it's a human relationship that you have to, at end of the day, learn how to be. You will always find people with different backgrounds, different beliefs, and that those beliefs are true because that is a life they have led. It's I am nobody to say whatever your thoughts are wrong. Like that's what has brought that person, until 60 years of their age or 75 years of their age. So it's difficult for somebody at that age to broaden their mind and just cancel something that their thoughts are. But I think if they have an open gate, that not to impose those on somebody who doesn't believe, I
So
think
it worked
it
well.
kind of
It worked well.
helps.
Your
Yeah.
transition also was quite smooth after marriage.
Yes. Yeah, I did change my job though. I did take up a job of a different profile back then. Uh, but yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was
Now the next stage, again, a major transition in a woman's life, that get getting into motherhood or experiencing motherhood. So, what time or what were your views about having a motherhood or experiencing motherhood, and how did it happen? Like,
Yeah. So as I said, after I got married, I got an opportunity to change my profile, and then I didn't have to travel. And it was the office was also close by, and that profile was not as demanding. And by the time we had like about and more than a year into marriage, and there's something interesting. So a lot of my colleagues back then were struggling to,
conceive. Okay.
yeah, they had issues coming up. Okay, visits to gynac, nothing concrete going wrong, but yeah, I mean, it was something that they were seeking help for, um, PCOS and things like that. So, and I was like, look, this profile, this timing, this is everything is right. I think if we want, so the way I looked at it was, if I have to have, I mean, I wanted to have a child, right? And if I wanted to have a child, there is no point of waiting for some time that is going to be that there is a timing that I should have a child. But this was because my I was in a position to handle my job and the motherhood together, is what I again thought. Planning, the bit of planning that we did was, okay, I have a job that I can handle with the motherhood. So that's what the thought that we went on with. And my pregnancy was not as easy. There were little issues before, but yeah, I mean, otherwise it was
Uh,
fine. Like,
take too long for you to decide that कि my career, then my things, and my commitments, and the baby. So, was it that difficult sort of a thing, decision making between both of you, or something, or it was just you thought that, because a very important word, that a sentence that you used right now, it was, I wanted to become a mother, I wanted a baby. So that was all like set and very clear from the mind, or is there any, was there any compulsion
If
or
you,
some kind of pressure?
yeah. No, no pressures. If I can tell you, like, I don't know, maybe the life that I have lived, once you get married, uh, things that you do, as a new couple, things that you would want to explore, um, with the jobs that you want to set up, your careers that you want to set up. It was not that um thought, no, I wouldn't say thought through, but it was not demanding so much that we have to look see the world before we want children, okay, or have a house before we want children. I mean, like, we used to stay in, I still stay in Godrej quarters, which is where I came and when I got married. So because that's a place that my husband works for Godrej, and it's close by, and it's a beautiful place to stay in. So it was not that I have to next day go and find a house. But yeah, someday I would want to buy a house, but um, it was more of how prepared you as a person are to be a mother than your environment. Okay, I can have the best of the environment around me, and not being able to have a child, um, uh, and I didn't go by setting up that environment first and having a child. I rather thought that, okay, me as a person is okay to
I
now have
remember
a
one
child.
thing that I think you only told ki your boss was there. I think you just tell that.
Yeah, so
Sounds good.
my
Okay.
my boss, yeah, so not sounds good, so I had gone to invite him for my wedding, and then he being he, I mean, he's no more, but yeah, I gave him the patrika, and he's like, how many children do you want? He and his
The
wife,
wedding invitation. Okay.
invitation, okay. So both of them, they are the founders of the company, and they were both of the is he and his wife. And it's like, Arey, she's just giving you a wedding invitation, and about you're asking how many children do you want. I'm like, no, I'm asking because I think having kids at 26 and having a house at 36 is right than having a house at 26 and children at
Superb.
36.
Superb statement.
So I think, and I correlated it with, as I said, like, I can't make my body as 26 at age of 36, but I can establish an environment that I want to be stable or whatever that is at age, any age, okay. So 26 to 36, 46, I've seen my nani establish her entire career at 46, and now that we have so many examples of people who have done it at any point in time that they want. So there is no such mm, thing as the most conducive environment. And as I said, the little plan of conducive environment of having a job which is something that I can have my like, balance my career and motherhood also kind of did not prove so good, because things happen. And I think there is, we as, I mean, because we can plan, people just plan too much, is what I think. You just have to let go of things and just live life. um, Things will happen. And
That's a wonderful statement that you made, Pratnya. Now I am entering into a zone which is quite emotional to you. That is childbirth and the developmental stages and kind of challenges those were there. So go on.
So, my son has hearing impairment, and at birth he also had difficulties of low tone, and he needed physiotherapy and occupational therapy, and of course, because he is hard on hearing, he was cochlear implanted at age of 2 and later on 10. Um, to be able to hear and speak, and an auditory verbal therapy to support that. But this all is like the stages when we kind of knew about it was extremely challenging. That one after other you are just investigating something wrong about your child. Um but yeah, it was a challenging time, but I would also say that I'm extremely fortunate that I stay in Mumbai, where you have the best of the medical treatment available. And two, I had a background of science where I could ask the right questions to people and find answers. So by nature, I'm extremely curious. Okay. So, and I'm extremely inquisitive of asking questions of why and how. And back then, still Google was there, not the AI chatbot to give you ready made answers. But yes, Google was still there to search what does that mean, what is there ahead. From doing investigations to finding each therapist, again we did not stumble upon the best of the therapists at the first go. Okay, being an extremely vigilant parent, a curious parent, to know that what's happening is it right, is there a logic to it, mm, helped me find the right people along the way. And it took me about almost 2 years to actually narrow down on people who would be the ones that I worked with. So
Yes.
it was something that um, I've always thought that if you are curious, you wanting to have answers, you
As a mother, when you found that my child is having certain concerns and your attention or your concentration on your child was very important during that phase of his maybe diagnosis, then treatments, then surgeries and all. So, was it a career break that you took?
Yes, so after Manas was born, it was first he was detected with PDA, that is patent ductus arteriosus, which is a condition where the heart, the lungs kind of bypass the blood that doesn't go to the lungs. So I was asked that you should take good care of him and not have him in a babysitting or having a maid over. Nobody from outside can actually uh, be near him, so that he is healthy enough, that it kind of closes on its own. So he might not need any intervention, but yeah, I mean, he should be healthy. And that's the time I thought that, I mean, I don't think anything is worth um, health of your baby. And hence I took a break, and completely focused on him and caring for him, which actually later on we kind of discovered more issues about low tone of the body and delayed milestones of holding head to start with. So finding therapist, all that was possible because I was at home and I was not working. But we could manage financially. Okay.
Uh, Financial challenge is also one concern.
Yes.
That
Yes.
how did you
Yes.
deal with it?
Yes. We were okay. I mean, we did not. So in that years of whatever years, uh, there were a lot of things that we did not do. Okay. I don't think we missed it because we were so focused on the thing at hand that I don't
Can
think
you
we
just give any
missed
some examples
very
that
important.
exactly?
like, so I don't I we were not socially so much there, going to events, attending some distant relatives wedding. If it I have to take a break from therapy, take my child to some another city, no, I have therapy to attend.
Meant to attend.
I
Okay.
can't come. Yeah. So also, again, thank God that I have a family that kind of never uh, imposed the requirements that you have to be there. So, I mean, not that we cared, but yeah.
Definitely.
So socially, where it was not that I had like a group of friends that I can entertain myself or take a break from. I don't know if I didn't have time to go ahead and make friends then. If I had, probably it would have helped or maybe not helped. I don't know. But I never had, and I never had time to do all that. So, or going on bigger vacations or doing fancy things. I think things that are not needed. I don't think we
You were
did
quite
not do
sorted
anything
at that
that's
point of
essential.
time, I think so.
Yeah, because what's I mean, this is the sole aim was to get this right. And what from the research that I did, I knew that early intervention is the key. And the every therapy doctor, that specialist that I have visited to, and especially the neurologist, he's like, your race is against time. When at when he his age 1.5, I realized that okay, I have a race against time. I think then time is so important. Okay, so then
So now, as Manas was developing, he started achieving things, milestones, and uh, all the good, productivity and everything. It was all good. It was going on a very right path. Then, what was that time when you decided कि now I want to get back to my work?
a lot of it was also up, not, I mean, it was not even on, it was just, we had just started, but we realized there are a lot of financial um, burdens that are going to come our way, considering the therapy and the cochlear implant. So I went back working half a day, because I wanted, one, to earn, two, to be completely away and do something which is not thinking about my son. Honestly, um, I'm not a very social person, so I do not have uh, groups that I can go entertain myself. So I thought, what best that I know is to work. So the last that I left, so maybe I whatever time I have, I kind of start doing something, but that only turned out for a very short time. Like, I actually couldn't too much manage both, and then I left it. I actually, when he started going, like when was in first standard, that I got back like 12 years ago, that I started
So I think approximately
my
you
career
can say
again.
4 years break, 3 to 4 years break you had taken, or maybe more than that,
Yeah,
6 years if you.
four, no, three to, yeah, almost on and off, but yeah, five.
Look back, uh, we are going to talk about Mana's achievement also. But when you look back at it, do you feel that, do you, I mean, any kind of regret is there about losing out that time and
No.
maybe establishing career and things like achievements in professional life or something like that? Do you have that kind of thought in mind?
Not regret, because you can build at any time. I don't think that that time is going away, but the time that I needed to give my son was so much more precious than giving it to some company, okay, or to my career. I mean, honestly, when I hear news of thousands of people being laid off every single day, I realize how frivolous that whole thing is. Okay, so I rather concentrate on. I think I'm glad that I concentrated on what's important at that point in time.
So now, yeah, I think I would love to hear from you the latest achievements of Manas and how he's developing. And
Yes, he is. So before that, actually, I wanted to say that although these years were there was a lot of therapy and things like that, it was lot about in general parenting. Okay, honestly, only because he required so much of our time and attention, we really paid attention to parenting, and it was 90% of what we did was every parent is supposed to do. Okay, which is only 10% of it is something that is very specific to having a hearing impaired child, or things that are specific to hearing impaired child. But 90% of the things, language development, making him social, uh, making him curious, like getting that curiosity in him, all that is very natural, very normal, and I think we enjoyed that process a lot.
here, I want to be enjoyed when you said. Then the support that you got from your better half. Uh, would you like to describe that?
Yes, so because yeah, we definitely enjoyed, as in uh, once so, and I would like to tell you this, that we have so the therapy that we used to go to, we had mothers group and fathers group. So there was a session on a fathers group, and the therapist there, the auditory verbal therapist, she said that you don't have to think before you talk to your child. Don't think that he cannot hear. Okay, now we have given him access with technology to be able to hear. You just talk. And that day, that's where my husband tells everybody, that is the day I stopped thinking that whether or not he'll understand, and I just started talking to him, having conversation. And I would like to tell you like an incident. So I had taken my son to my nana's house, and I think he was 4 or 5. He was started talking, and by then, and there was a telephone bill that had come in, and Manas picked it up. Oh, this is a telephone bill, and this is the amount to be paid, and it is so many units. And my nana is like, what? What is this? What is this? How does he even know this is a bill? I said, because whenever his father pays the bill, he's sitting next to him. He's doing an online payment. So he's like, okay, what is the amount? What are the figures? So we kind of removed that simplifying of vocabulary for him, and we used to just talk to him like adults. So once in the class, the first time in the nursery, was a picture that was showed to him about a doctor and a patient, and there was a slip. And Mana said, "Yeah, the doctor is giving prescription to the patient." And his teacher was like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, that's prescription." So everybody was like, "He's giving note, paper." I'm like, "No, but that's prescription." But if you just teach your child that's called prescription, he will know that's called prescription. You don't have to simplify
The
it to them.
incidental teaching.
Yeah, so we kind of then stopped that barrier, and we just went ahead and started talking to him. Everywhere he used to go, he used to know where he's going, what kind of relatives he's going to be, what is the occasion, which set of parents he's going to meet. So he was kind of aware, okay, where am I going and what am I doing. So it was not like a thing in the house. He was the family, like everything we discuss until date, everything that we do is discussed. So now the conversations are mostly what is happening in Iran war and Trump, and how is Artemis mission going, and yeah, but it doesn't directly get on there. It starts with little conversations that you have when the kid is small, like as small as just telling them that what you're doing, like cooking bhakri, or thepla and dosa. and not just cooking. Okay, so that conversation I think is very important that we had, and that is why it played a lot of bigger role in what he has become today. Also, the therapist taught us that to make him aware about what it is. So there is nothing to be shy about being um, hearing impaired. It is a condition. So you cope
And
with it.
yes,
A
about
lot
his
of
board exams and his achievement.
yes. So he stood third in his school with 96%
Now
marks,
preparing for
and now preparing for a JEE. Yeah, so he aspires to become an engineer,
very good.
IT aspirant. Again, that is also because not because IIT is something that has glamour, because he wants to study that. The joy of being able to study what you like is what drives, and I think that the goal is very important, or the why is very important, instead of the goal. Actually, the why is very important of why you want to do something.
That's the whole story, that the way of nurturing, the way of giving confidence to the child at every level. Definitely, why wouldn't we get the best of the best results when things are all planned accordingly? And I always say parenting is a game of little patience, knowledge, and some wisdom. If you are having that, or if you are ready to learn that, open to that, then definitely parenting is not something which has to be uh, learned, or you can say it just innate, it just comes. Okay, so that emergence is very important, that people the parents should be aware of that. It is nowadays a lot of waves are coming about this kind of parenting, that kind of parenting, gentle parenting, and all. I think it's a big subject to talk. I think today we will not get into it.
Because it's difficult to identify it because we weren't subject to very gentle parenting. We were like, okay, there are boundaries, okay, and I think at um, any age there will be boundaries, and I think if you do not teach kids very young age where that boundaries lie and what is yes and what is no, I don't think growing up they are going to be somebody who will automatically learn boundaries. Like for very simple example, my therapist once asked me that does he use glass like a glassware in the house. I said no, we small, we use steel glasses. Like at age of 15 he'll automatically learn how to
How
use
to
it.
use a glass.
Yeah, so if you don't teach them how to handle even difficult things at that time, like handling no, handling okay,
Wait,
these are
yeah.
my boundaries. Wait, okay, yeah, or being careful. How is that directly going to come? Like at a teenage, so and you being able to say no, like being able to tell them that this is acceptable. It's not acceptable. So everything starts from here, and it doesn't just come in when you grow up as adults, and then you have a lot of memes about how Gen Z employees are these days, and what millennials have to encounter when they work with Gen Zs. That's because
It's all
I
about
mean, I think the expectations were not set out when these were kids.
exactly. So yes, Pranya, now getting back to your professional life. So at present, where are you standing and exactly?
So I work in a clinical research organization in the quality assurance department. I'm the senior manager there, and I do audits for the clinical trials that happen. So the hospitals where clinical trials are conducted, do trainings, write procedures, and things like that. And I have a team also to manage. This job takes me to different places, continents. So I have to travel, meet new people, um, learn along the way a lot of things, see a different world, to say, and then come back feeling so much more privileged. A lot of times I feel we as Indians crib about a lot of things of we not having until we go to places where what is taken so much for granted is it's not there. Okay, so it gives you a lot of
What are your
perspective.
now aims further, like the level, or you can say the position or the achievement that you are seeking for in your professional career?
uh, be in this profession more from auditing perspective, again, because it is this profession is very much guarded by the regulatory requirements, and they are increasing by the day. And as we move more AI, there is a lot more that is going to happen there. So learn that expertise, like if at all tomorrow AI comes by, will come by in this profession, how do you where are the regulations and where does it stand? So
Now, as I say, one question, very important question. So, are you happy with what you have achieved so far?
yes, I am happy, I am grateful, because I've always thought that God gave me problems, but God also gave me solutions in the same breath, honestly. I had an investigation, but I had also a solution for it. Okay, so I think you just have to be more um, open minded to the experiences that come by. If we are really fixated, if I would have thought of a certain life when I was in school or college, maybe this is not the life. I mean, um, at age of 21 you would have asked me, and this is a life would have showed me that okay, this is a life you would want, like this path. I don't think anybody would have completely wanted, like it's not something that you set out to be. But I think whatever has come by, I'm grateful for it because it has just helped me grow as a person. I am a i'm a better mom because I had to um, handle, you know, um, all these issues surrounding, disability and early intervention. I think I wouldn't have been as a as a better mom.
Great. So, the last thing is a takeaway message for young girls uh, about, the motherhood experience and some tips or some guidance ki how it should be and it should be there, and if it is there then how, like a takeaway message for young girls now.
Yeah, I don't think I can give messages, but from the experience that I have, that if you would want to be a mother, and that's again a completely personal decision of, if you want to be a mother, it's something that doesn't have to be some rigid protocol. Okay, it's a natural thing that happens. As you don't dictate how a flower should, how the bud should look like and how the flower should bloom and which shade should happen on which petal, uh, if you cannot dictate that, I don't think you would want to dictate the life of, you know, everything that it's a life, it's a natural course of a human race. And at end of I think a lot of times we humans forget that we are part of the animal kingdom and we are Homo sapiens sapiens, and there is a nature that is still there every second that will have the last word. No matter what, you decide in your civilized world what you want to do. So I think that is very, you just go with the flow, and it's a, I think there is no better feeling than bringing a human being alive to the world. I mean, what more can that be? Uh, if you would care to appreciate that it is so precious. If you wouldn't care, I mean, then that nothing is as, yeah.
So, thanks a lot, Pradnya. It was a very kind of eye-opening sort of a session. And as I say, ki the difficulties or the challenges, as you explained, they're bound to come. Ups and downs are the part and parcel of the life. But as I say, motherhood is a very natural instinct. And in spite of having difficulties, challenges, concerns, you enjoyed this motherhood. You are still enjoying. There are a lot to come. Okay. And yes, thanks a lot for this session.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me over. Um, to be able to think about and see your life in a way of answering question, it's different, and I think I'm sitting here, I think I appreciate life more uh, than when you actually live with the day-to-day problems. So I think it is a self-realization of how privileged also I am to whatever I have got up until now. So, and thank you for starting this series of a very important topic, I think, to get back uh, or share stories about people who have actually lived it.
So, this was all about Mrs. Pradnya Madhvavi, a common mother, just like you and me, who has achieved milestones in her life, pursued motherhood. I think I always say that pursued motherhood as a career also. So, motherhood is not something to be uh, scared about or maybe worried about. This particular podcast is going to focus on empowering or making the young girls, young women confident about the stages and the achievements of motherhood than that of the challenges. So stay tuned for more such podcasts. Thanks a lot. Shri Ram.